Welcome back to the Round Ball warm-up. I'm your host, Neil Simon. Joining me is Cameron Wiper. We've had quite the week of Australian football. It feels like we're edging closer to something which is unimaginable, unforeseen, and possibly the greatest thing happening to the game. So you got these differing perspectives, but we'll speak about a lot of these things today. Cameron, what did you make of, first of all, Monday's action? We'll talk about that later. We obviously recorded during that Phoenix Western Sydney game, and then obviously the news that came through the week filtered through Dominic Bossy of the Sydney Morning Herald.
Yeah, so that game was crazy. Obviously, we were having one eye on it while we were recording. And fortunately, we were only there recording during the first half because it really did kick off in the second half. And what struck me was like the quality of every single one of those goals. I was going through the mini match that the league provides on YouTube, watching the highlights. Every single goal is such a well taken finish, and it's not like, these high scoring games, you like the Perth Western United game, you can pick it apart and it's just so many individual errors in there. But this was really high quality, end-to-end basketball-esque football.
Oh, definitely.
And it was brilliant to see right up until the VAR decision at the end.
Yeah, obviously that's obviously plagued with controversy, that decision. I don't really agree with the way that VAR is being implemented in the A-League, and I can tell you Tom Hember doesn't really agree with that. He's actually provided quite a good response, measured response, in especially in the aftershock of what that game meant to Wellington and I guess the fans who were there. But there are more pressing issues. Number one being the summer or winter debacle has obviously come out again. It's fantastic, but also equally terrifying. We did cover this on Monday when the article broke, just as we started recording. But yeah, so they're pushing to stay in summer. Now that's sort of the main consensus around the leagues at the moment, around the APL, is that they want to remain in summer per se. We learned some more information from FTBL the following day regarding what some owners believe will happen and who are the parties that are actually interested. So I'll just put this up at the moment. Amazon are keen, apparently. Well, that's pretty encouraging. Sportsflick and Fox Sports is looking likely to lose its 16-year partnership with the A-League. So as we sort of toss up all these different broadcasters, it seems that Fox Sports is going to be edging closer to finally breaking its partnership with football, which would be a landmark moment for the game and equally sad. I could tell. I don't know how it will be received when Fox do depart, but I really hope people place an ingrained emphasis on the fact that they've done so much for the game in these past 16 years. But that's despite the fact we need to talk about the main contention at hand. Is it winter or summer? I'll let you sort of take the fold here, and then we'll go into some comments that have been provided to us from Twitter.
At the moment, whilst we're at least in a sort of developmental stage at the moment, where we are starting to see that we've got a really good package, and we are attracting a lot of interest, a lot more interest than we have been in the last couple of years. So alongside the sort of emergence of a domestic transfer system, whenever that happens, next couple of years maybe, and then also the national second division, we need the money in the game. And for me, I don't really see a problem with sticking with the summer if we're going to get more money for it, because the quality of football, it could well be better in the winter, but it is still pretty good in the summer. As we can see, we've had a slightly delayed start this season, but one of the best seasons that we've had for about 5 or 6 years. So from that argument, I don't see, how much of an impact having the winter or the summer would be. I think maybe games in Perth, for example, might, they could well be better in the winter because of how hot it does get when you have a 4 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday afternoon. In December or January or February, it is really hot. But there's if we keep it in the summer, we're not competing with the likes of the AFL for most of the season. We're not competing with the rugby either, I don't think. You're only looking at, I believe, the cricket and the basketball, which, although the cricket in some places draws much bigger fans, but at the end of the day, it's the AFL always draws more, and then you've got the rugby on top of that. So to keep it in the summer at the moment seems very sensible. It seems very safe. But at the end of the day, we need to get the foot in the door first before starting off and doing anything too drastic, in my opinion.
And I think it really hampers back to sort of the quality of football and ultimately this trade-off that you have between broadcaster availability and interest, and ultimately the best interest of the game. Now, many perceive it being in the best interest of the game to have a winter product. As we'll go into some of the comments that are here, it's in the best interest of the game to have a winter product in order to develop better players, etc., etc. I understand that we've had a unordinarily cool summer over this past few months. Although these things happen when you do get perhaps a cooler summer and the quality does improve. We saw that in winter as well. So we'll go through some comments here. We got one from Victory 19611. Whoever takes over, the football public must receive a comprehensive coverage which includes 30-minute previews of games, 30-minute after games, review shows, along with a constant replays of mini matches throughout the week. Now, many of those things are actually currently provided by Fox. The other shows, such as Sunday Shootout, Match Day Saturday, those things aren't provided anymore. But we do need our prospective broadcaster to jump on and provide that. They need to be a partner of the game, as Danny Townsend said yesterday on the World Game. They have to work in conjunction with the APL and the FA to provide the biggest platform for football in this country. There's a reason why Stan Sport only want it for summer. There's a reason why these articles are being published from the Sydney Morning Herald. Is it perhaps a negotiation tactic? I suspect that it partly is. At the same time, we have to be very cautious about who we partner with. Do we go with perhaps a sports flick that are going to provide us a new foundation and are very football focused, football orientated, but that you're building up that subscriber base? Stan already have a subscriber base, but they're very untested and untried in these football waters. And then it comes to the FA discussions. How are the APL going to negotiate with the FA? How are they able to sort of negotiate that domestic match calendar and align with their objectives of aligning the football calendar? This is James Johnson's first roadblock for achieving innovation. He is going to be facing a whole lot of criticism and a lot of acrimony, a lot of upheaval from the fans as well. No one's going to be happy with this decision, no matter the way. So not everybody's going to be happy with this decision when it is made. In my personal interests, it is in the best interest of the game, in my opinion, to remain in summer. If you're going to get see, you have to weigh out the consequences. Do you get like a $20 or $15 million TV deal staying in winter, or do you want to get a $35 million TV deal in summer? It sort of offsets each other. Do we want to retain our talent, or perhaps be consigned to the fact that we may have to be losing our talent to these poorer Asian leagues, which has actually happened this year? Many of those guys are returning, but that doesn't matter. The game is in a unique spot. It's in a better spot than it was 6 months ago. I think we have to acknowledge that. The TV ratings don't really paint the full picture because you've got the KO numbers, etc. And the international market is there and it's in abundance. The interest there's a gaping chasm that I don't think Football Australia or the APL have really explored their So I think it's going to be an intriguing couple months. But the revelations that have come out this week has really sort of ignited the discussion a little bit more. Since obviously June last year, where we had that wild couple days where the KO A League content got taken off its platform. We thought it was all doom and gloom, and obviously on a Friday afternoon, a deal got struck. 6 weeks until the TV deal will be finalized. Moving on to the next thing, we've talking about A League and how that's going to operate. A League contracts are the focal point of discussion this week, with apparently 70% of players not on long-term deals, as you would expect. This is interesting. This is very interesting. We've got many players of contract. It's a sign of COVID-19, I understand that. And obviously we've got the news that Alu Kuala is going to resign, which is, I don't think anyone's really surprised. We'll go through each club and we'll sort of just discuss each team. Adelaide United, does anyone really pique your interest there as to who could possibly be snapped up?
I would say Elsie and Urich and Cooley are probably, and actually Smith as well, are the bigger names out of that one. Cooley was impressive for the first sort of couple games of the season, but he's been.
I think his fitness has just waned, to be honest. I just don't feel like he's able to sustain a full 90 minutes and keep up that intensity. He's got quality.
Yeah,
there's a reason he didn't get a look in at City, and I think it's shown.
He's not as good as the players that they have at the moment.
No,
they're quite well stacked in their wingers. They've got Cassini Youngie, Ben Halloran, and obviously Craig Goodwin's come back as well. But I think he's 18 or 19. So
he's 18, he's 18, yeah. It's really crazy.
Really raw. He's crying out to go to a Central Coast Mariners or somewhere like that, and then be given opportunities and develop, in incrementally rather than just being thrown straight into the first team and expected to perform. Is that Brisbane's, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Brisbane. So
I got half their team out of contract. Goodness me.
I mean, look, a lot of these players are youth players. Macklin Freak, Zanzaki's on a loan deal, if I'm not mistaken, from what I think is a Consolado Sapporo. Brindle South and Courtney Perkins actually commentated his brother last week in the NPL. Masato Kudo hasn't actually been playing much. He played for the youth team apparently. Scott McDonald's probably might retire. Powell's a youth prospect. Dylan Windsor Halls is the player that you must
go to overseas, I reckon. Given how good a start he's had to the season, he's crying out for an Indian Super League or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think Europe's the expectation. I think he'd be going to an Indian Super League. I mean, Jordan Murray is an example of someone who was at NPL level and then actually went to Europe. So Dylan Windsor Hall could sort of follow the same career trajectory almost. I mean, he was at the Mariners. He was at the Barol before. The Mariners have had a long issue with squad turnover, and I think most of those players you'd have to think that you'd want to keep them, especially.
Yeah, that's pretty much their entire first team is out of contract.
Yeah. So Birigidi, Bauman, Casella, Clisby, De Silva will probably leave. To be honest, in my opinion, I think regardless of this season's outcome, he's gone. Yankovic has been okay. Yanoto's been pretty good. He's been playing off the bench though. Negro has been. I'll tell you about Stefan Negro. He's been outstanding this season. Started every game. He was at Green Gully last year. Like, this is insane. Like, this guy was at Green Gully and he's now starting left back for one of the best sides in the league. And most of those players, just seeing Matthew Simon, it just sounds weird. Like, I just want to hear like Matt Simon. Just sounds weird. Anyway, regardless, you'd have to think that they would.
High rolls and Ruan are the keys for them, because a lot has gone under the radar with regards to how good the Mariners have been defensively, and that has been due to the development of Kai Rolls and Ruan Toniek. So they need to get them pinned down as soon as possible, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I think that's really key for them to retain that squad. I think we'll just sort of go through this a little bit quicker. We'll take forever. MacArthur have got some big issues. Beniat, Ivan, Frangic, McGing. I mean, a lot of these players actually actually key. I don't think Walter Scott's played a game. I know Charles Mwamba has not played at all.
He's
Jake
come off
McGing,
the bench, isn't he?
I think he has maybe. James Meredith is starting, obviously. Yanni Nicolaou's playing for their Northbridge side. Milislav Popovic has been injured. He's gone. He's gone missing. Loic Puyo's been all right. Liam Rose has been all right. And Shushna, obviously, I don't think he'll be here beyond this season. Melbourne City have always been traditionally very good with their squad turnover, and most of these players reflect that. Borenge, Kolakovsky, Jamison, Noon, and Luna are the only glaring players that you would want to re-sign.
Yeah, Sabaki's on loan, isn't he?
Tabaki's from Yokohama. Victory, obviously, a lot of these players are loans. Well, two of them. But yeah, you want to keep Anderson, Brimmer,
Traore,
probably Burkhan. I wouldn't say Robbie Cruz would stay beyond this season, being the only marquee. Storm Root has been okay as well, so why not? Newcastle Jets. That's honestly not much shit I keep. I mean, besides Jack Duncan and probably Nikolai Topple-Stanley and maybe Nigel Bugard. But the Perth Glory. This is the most interesting thing. Holy shit! Apologies for my language.
The entire team.
That's literally that is 3 off an entire A-League squad. So you've got the whole team here. And apparently Chris Economides was spotted in a Perth airport today. He was actually returning from New South Wales, for your information. So he's not leaving anywhere. And I don't know why anyone would sign him, considering he's just come off an ACL injury. That's concerning, and I think that's something that they have to address and hopefully retain most of those youth prospects. D'Agostino has to be retained. Armiento, Economides, if he does return. Keogh's been okay. Kilkenny's been brilliant this season.
Yeah, Kilkenny, he has to stay. He's probably the standout player this season for Perth.
Sydney FC, likewise, they don't really have too many issues with squad turnover in terms of senior players. Wilkinson might retire. Bomyohan Bahaja I guess he's been okay. He hasn't been really lighting it up. Bobo, don't think he'll be retained, and etc. Wellington have got some players there. West United have also got a huge issue as well in terms of their squad turnover.
Yeah, that's a lot of key players for West United.
I mean, obviously we know Burgess is gone, and they've signed Brad Inman. Someone like Luke Duzel impressed me against Brisbane. He played really well.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point is there. The point's been made that this is an issue. This is an issue. Squad turnover is going to be huge next season, regardless of the fact of how many players get re-signed. We thought that there were a lot of players who got given 3-year and 2-year deals. That's true, but we've often maybe overstated that number. Where in actuality, we've got not many players who have been retained at all. So a bit unfortunate, but what is it? June 30, I think the contracts are up this year. So we'll hopefully see a lot more re-signings in the coming months. This is actually an interesting discussion. The FFA Cup is being renamed. They put out a survey, I think, in December. I don't know what actually happened there. But anyway, they just went on Twitter and Facebook. They're like, you know what? What do you want to rename it? That's going to invite many shitty responses, but whatever you want. So the A-League Memes Cup got like 300 likes on Facebook, which is crazy. Anyway, so sort of harking back to the main point here, what do you think is the most appropriate name for the competition?
I think Vince Rigari's tweet summed it up perfectly. The Australia Cup is got to be what it is. I think it's simple, it sums it up, and I think it goes back to tradition as well. I think it just works really well as a name. Let's not overcomplicate it. It's a national competition. It's the only national football knockout tournament. So let's just call it the Australia Cup and leave it at that.
I think it should be called the Australia Cup, possibly with some connotation to Les Murray, perhaps. I believe there's already a Les Murray Cup, but maybe call it Les Murray Trophy. I mean, Mike Cockrell already has his own award being for the best NPL player, I believe, the Mike Cockrell Medal. And Mark Viduka's got the Mark Viduka medal's pretty self-explanatory. So, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting couple of months. I really hope they just name it the FA Cup. I don't think they'll do that though. But I mean, you don't know what can happen here. Ultimately, James Johnson has to make, and the FA as a whole have to make a very calculated and reasonable decision, because this is going to largely shape the strategy of the FA moving forward. Having a united strategy with sort of all stakeholders in the game that they're trying to go for, a name like the Australia Cup would reflect that, being for the all-encompassing notion that we're a footballing nation as opposed to a Federation Cup is what obviously the FFA Cup was called. I still find it weird that we're still referring to the preliminary rounds as the FFA Cup, but is what it is. Hey, can't really win everything, can you? Moving on to the previews, we've obviously got a couple games. We'll talk about the Western Sydney Perth Glory game first. This is a very big one for both sides. Wellington lost to the Wanderers, and the Wanderers were very fortunate to win that one, in my personal opinion. Considering that was mental. That was an absolutely mental game, full of controversy and just outstanding finishes, like all around. And I'm sure we watch these highlights for days upon days. But this game is really interesting. You got the Perth Glory, which snagged a draw against the Mariners. They held on to a lead for a while, and obviously that penalty really hampered their progress. Coming off 2 losses in a row, they're looking to get some confidence here. The Wanderers equally have been inconsistent, and they're finding form, but they need to find it in the right areas. And I feel like against Perth Glory, it can go either way for them.
Yeah, given what we've seen from both sides so far, I think this could be another one that's both teams to score is a nailed-on bet, to be honest, because neither team is that sound defensively, but both sides have got very well-drilled attacks. So this, could be quite the game. And in terms of the shape-up for the season, these are 2 teams that will be pushing for finals, pushing to see if they can make it into that top 2 once Perth catch up with the amount of games that they are behind at the moment. But this is, that is an unreal finish from Devlin.
That's unreal. It's unmatched. I'm sorry. That is one of the. It's a half volley.
Yeah,
it's a half
the ball
volley,
is bouncing, and he's just pinged it Ben Pavard-esque into the top corner.
It's insane. It's legit. Like, how do you? Oh man,
you're not saving. No one's saving that. Back in the goal camera, you can barely see him. And yet, Robbie Slater decided that Mitch Duke's goal was better.
He's Robbie Slater. Like, leave him alone. Anyway, yeah, I think. Look, Perth Glory have got a lot to think about. I think defensively they've been pretty awful. They don't really have the defensive capabilities to withstand the attack of a Wanderers. They've got such attacking variety. I saw a stat that their top goal scorer is Kwame Yaboa, which is self-explanatory in itself, but it obviously shows that they have a lot of attacking options, and they've won games with no distinct goal scorer. Mitch Duke came in half the season, so halfway through the campaign, so he's still getting fully match fit. He's showing that he's still got the quality that he had
when he was there. Firing.
Yeah, he's already firing as well. I mean, we'll see his finish, but yeah, not to see Tomo Hammond on the spot get the goal as well, which is always great. But anyway, I do think that this game is going to be pivotal for both sides. For the Wanderers, they need to prove that they're up top, that they're around, the top 4. For Perth Glory, and they need to prove that they're in the finals race in the first place. They weren't lucky in those first few games when they completely dismantled Adelaide United. A fully fit Adelaide United, might I remind you. This is an outstanding finish as well. But
not as good as Devlin's.
Oh, it was not. Nah, Yeah, I reckon let's just call them equal because like that
He
that's
has
so
volleyed it. It is a really good finish. He's volleyed it off his chest, but I think just for Devlin, he's twice that distance outside. He's
yeah.
I don't think you can compare them. I
But like
think Devlin's closing
this
out the
was
water.
end to end football, and that's what the Wanderers are best at when they play end to end attacking football. They play with a lot of variety, and that especially with the avenue of someone like Nikolai Muller, who's been a bench option for many games this season, has come on, give him a spark of energy. And might I add, I don't know how Bernie Beanie's anywhere near Socceroos selection, no disrespect. But I don't think he's really set the world alight. He was better at
We've got better
Newcastle.
players abroad at the moment for the
Oh, you
winger positions.
most definitely. A starting finish by Tom Ahmed obviously was ruled offside. It's been unfortunate, but it was really a reflection on the Wanderers' versatility. They, I believe, were the first side to come back, or one of the first sides to come back from three times in a single
It's
game,
been
which
done
is
twice before, I think, is what the stat I saw.
yeah,
And
hence why I said
not in the
one
A
of
League.
the first. So there you go. Apparently, the AFL are using 8K cameras, which is a bit weird, but there you go.
And yet we
Anyway,
can't sort out a broadcast deal for the football here.
yeah, well, I mean, the UFC have that as well, but that's not the main focal point of discussion. The AFL's kicked off, so hence why we've lost a lot of our viewership. But Melbourne City versus the Mariners, there's a huge game. It is probably a finals foreshadowing in a way. People aren't really putting much emphasis on this one being the biggest clash this season. I think comfortably could say it is the biggest clash and it's a must watch. In Gosford. Oh, sorry, it's actually in Melbourne. I actually need to apply to go to that one because I'm going to be watching that in person. This is huge. This is huge.
There's no Monday show, by the way. Just to clarify, no Monday show.
No Monday show. We're watching this one. Last time we did a Monday show on a match day, that Wanderers game happened, and we're not going to sacrifice that again. And if we do broadcast on Monday, I'd be in the media box, and I can't because I get in big trouble. If I'm pretty sure because I think SCN have the rights holders to the stadium. Who cares? To broadcast, and they got like talking. That's just too complicated anyway. So you got the Mariners, you got Melbourne City. This is a Titan clash. You got Melbourne City, who are the most informed team that we've seen this season. I think they're 3 on the bounce. I think Adelaide are actually 4 on the bounce, but City have looked more dominant.
Adelaide have dropped too far away.
Yeah, no, they've dropped too far away in terms of their quality, and I think they've been dominated. Not even been dominated, but they haven't dominated games. City have dominated games, and we've said that before. I mean, really, what it's going to be for them is to close out the game effectively. They obviously conceded 2 against Sydney, dismantled victory in that second half, and struggled to score against MacArthur in that second half last week. So. The Mariners, the best way to describe them is being a brute force, one that does not give up at all. And I think it's going to be the clash that really makes or breaks the competition this season. The first time these two sides faced off, City were in a bit of a slump. Obviously losing against Newcastle as well. The Mariners were flying. And they've obviously dropped a couple this season. So this will prove to us if City are really they're walking the talk or if it's bad for flash in the pan.
Indeed, for both teams, Melbourne City or Central Coast Mariners. This is, the Mariners have shown they can do it against, I think, every team in the league now. I think they played everyone. And I think this is the test. They're travelling to Melbourne to play probably one of the most talented teams in the league on paper, in their own backyard. And certainly it's going to be a really good contest because City they go at teams really hard in the first half and then they do drop off in the second half. I think we saw that particularly not just the game against Sydney and MacArthur, but also in the Perth game, which they lost. City were all over Perth in that first half, but couldn't find a. I think they were still behind at the break, and then in the second half they had absolutely no answers to anything. It was really sluggish from them. It's not just when they're winning games; it's they just seem to be a lot better in that first half. And traditionally, Mariners went on a run of 3 games in a row where they came back from losing positions to win the entire game. And so this is going to shape up as the biggest contest so far. If the Mariners win this, they will still be up there by come the end of the season. Because this will be their hardest fixture.
No, it will comfortably be their hardest fixture, and I think we thought that City were under a lot of pressure at the start of the season, but they've really come into their own. And I'm looking at the table at the moment. Central Coast have a 6-point stronghold over the top of the table. City, if they were to win this game, could possibly close that to 1 point if they win the next game as well. So it's a game of hypotheticals at the moment, but City are in outstanding form. The Blues definitely energized them, and they're playing such fluid attacking football end to end, operating on the wings. It's really good to see that Patrick Uznorbo has really implemented his style, and you can see it's paying dividends for them. But the Mariners, the draw against Perth, they had the upper hand, and I can understand how they went behind. It was a lack of defensive awareness. However, they obviously do have that resilience, and they're able to penetrate the 6-yard box as well. So they're very effective in those areas, and you've obviously got such an aerial presence with Alu Kuala as well when he does come on, and he definitely does change the complexion of fixtures often. Moving into the last game, we'll talk about Melbourne Victory versus Sydney FC. If this game even goes ahead, I mean, I think they've got like 110 millimeters of rainfall this weekend, which is next level. Now, this one is going to be a very interesting one. Now, the Victory, everything should be directed towards the fact that Victory literally are in their worst slump in history. 3 on the bounce. They've conceded, I believe, 11 goals in that time. Let me just do my math calculations. 13 goals in 3 games. Pretty horrific. However, there is a cause for optimism. They've brought in JP DiMarini. They've got some young defenders coming through. Ansel, I believe, did his hamstring whilst doing sprints for losing in the training session. That is not a rumor that I've just brought about. That is on FVS. It's out for the public to hear. Strength and conditioning aside, Victory are going to come into this game with a lot of hunger, a lot of drive. And Sydney, on the other hand, will come in with a lot of confidence. I do think that Sydney will completely tear Victory apart. However, you never know with these ones as well.
It's shades of the semi-final a couple of years ago where Sydney just torn up in a new one, and I think it will be. There's no reason why it won't be the same this time. Sydney are a force at home. Bobo's starting to get there in terms of his match fitness. Ninkovic is playing some of his best football this year. And that defence is still very, very good, bar the odd error from Redmayne. But the back four is definitely best in the league. So for a team that is already struggling to score goals, Melbourne Victory have got a ridiculous task this week, and it could be a big, big thrashing in terms of that because the defense is just really poor. Their attack is.
Or it's gonna be further reduced as well in terms of the defensive capabilities. I think Ansel's out as well. Well, we just mentioned that.
Traore still out.
No, Traore, he started last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's back, I guess. That's a positive thing for them, and they're going to be struggling. I guess through that central area, haven't got as much a threat if Bobo doesn't start. However, look, I think we're going to expect another Sydney thrashing and a further Victory will be driving into another horrific state. The club's going to be in a very dangerous scenario. But I think we mentioned this 3 game stretch is really going to make or break him. If he does lose, or if the side loses, I reckon his job's up and JP will take the job. That's what I envisage happening. Although knowing Victory, it's probably not going to happen. So I guess who knows?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because you at the same time as Melbourne need consistency with their coaches because they've had a huge turnover of coaches in the last couple of years since Muscat left. It's not working, and if this is a club that should be competing with every single team in the league. They should be right up there with Sydney. They haven't been since that grand final win, and they need to get it sorted. And I don't think Grant Brebner is the right person for it. He said he didn't want the job in the first place. He's shown to be tactically naive so far this season. I don't know how long they can continue trying to spin it off that he is adequate as a manager. But then again, I'm not so sure on JP Di Marini as well. I think he's a fantastic coach. He's a brilliant coach. But as a manager, when you're looking to
you've got to be skeptical. I mean, he did manage the team with the Wanderers, I think, through the hub, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He got sacked. I actually still can't believe that he got hired and then got sacked. I actually cannot believe that. He literally got a 3-year contract, and then Robertson came about, and then I still can't believe it. But it is what it is. You got to deal with what you can, and the Victory have got a very good coaching staff, backroom staff. But it's clear the 2 assistants are miles ahead of Brebner, and I don't think that that Steve Keane is up for the job. I think JP is, and they're not going to hire Aloisi. They're not going to hire Aloisi. They're not going to hire Tony Popovic. It's not going to happen. Victory do not play defensive football. They do not play counter-attacking football. I mean, they don't play like counter press and counter
any football at the moment.
They're not playing any football at the moment. It's sort of just pass it to Robbie Cruz and see what he can create, and it's really horrific.
Robbie Cruz anymore.
Sorry,
Robbie Cruz is not as good as Robbie Cruz was.
And I think we did see glimmers of that in that first half. He was fantastic against Adelaide in that first half and dropped off as Victory tend to do in second halves. Constant theme. We'll end the show today. We'll hopefully be back on Tuesday or sometime this week. We're not going to make a mistake again of doing it during a match day. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Very chilled show. I hope you're enjoying the AFL. It's the 3rd best sport in this country. Actually, 2nd. I'm not even sure. I'm not the biggest fan of AFL. Maybe because Carlton are just horrible, but I mean, who knows?
I've got it down as 4th best sport in the country.
Yeah, let's just say, nothing against AFL. Just football is the biggest and best in this country. Thank you very much, guys, and we'll catch you soon. All the best.